The Rings of Power Season 2 has essentially confirmed which Númenorean is destined to become a Ringwraith of Sauron. These creatures, who are renowned for having cloaks on their backs and wanting nothing more than to serve their master, are an essential component in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. The 9 Ringwraiths, also known as the Nazgul, were once men, but Sauron's rings of power corrupted their spirits until they completely lost their humanity, Aragorn explained to the hobbits. The identities of these monsters will undoubtedly come to light given the subject matter of Prime Video's The Rings of Power. The canon of Tolkien suggests that even the Nazgul had lost their names. Once upon a time, they ruled as lords of men and had been given Sauron's 9 rings of power to help them govern their people more effectively. Men's propensity for corruption produced something distinct in their wearers than previous rings of power, such as the 3 for the elves and the 7 for the dwarves, which had varied impacts. They evolved into the evil Nazgul, creatures who were completely subservient to Sauron's malevolent intent. Rings of Power has started to establish this. After creating the 7 dwarven rings with success in the Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 5, Sauron and Celebrimbor began creating the 9. Annatar insisted on granting men rings of power, even though the Lord of a region was first opposed to the concept. He mentioned the men of Númenor, implying that the magnificent kingdom is about to undergo a significant transformation and that the rings will be necessary to help. This demonstrates that Rings of Power intends to adhere to canon in this area, albeit not strictly. 3 of the Ringwraiths, according to Tolkien, came from Númenor. Thus it appears likely that the 3 previously introduced Númenorean characters will receive some of Sauron's rings. Númenor's new monarch has hinted at who at least one of these will be, and the political atmosphere of this island nation suggests who that person will be. In Rings of Power Season 2, Pharazôn revealed a shocking revelation to his son Keeman, at the same episode when Annatar revealed his intention to gift rings to Númenor. The new king hinted that their son would have a gloomy destiny, but he did not elaborate on what his late wife had predicted. Keeman was told to carry out Pharazôn's wishes in order to obtain the opportunity to learn more. Keeman was eager to hear what else his mother had mentioned, and this ultimately led him to do some fairly heinous things in the remaining parts of Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 5. All of this foreshadowing seems to suggest that Keeman, who is now a prince, will be a Ringwraith since he is one of the 9 who will receive Sauron's Rings of Power. It would seem sense that he would go on to become the Witch King of Angmar, the head of the Nazgul, given that he was now the main heir to the most powerful realm of men. Of course, this would be a dark future, but Rings of Power might be playing a trick with us. It's also plausible that Pharazôn, as King of Númenor, will receive a Ring of Power. Since Sauron is supposed to visit Númenor and serve as Pharazôn's advisor, it makes sense that the Dark Lord would give the man one of his rings to facilitate his control. Then, Pharazôn can gradually spiral farther out of control in Rings of Power. The Valar's decision to retaliate against the Island Kingdom, however, would ultimately lead to Pharazôn's downfall, a just penalty for all of his impending transgressions. It seems more reasonable that Keeman would be the one to completely lose himself than Pharazôn, even though he might be a ring bearer in his lifetime. Keeman might inherit the Ring of Power upon his father's passing. He would hold it longer than Pharazôn, which would allow it to completely corrupt him. Naturally, the issue of the remaining 3 Númenorians that Tolkien suggested should be given rings remains. While we are limited to conjecture regarding the identities of these Rings of Power figures, it is reasonable to assume that Prime Video has already secured one spot among Sauron's 9. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.